fuck you want from me in that motherfucker?
I think
your family talking like this. Mwah, and they do like this.
You, come here, you.
You're good, you. Let me ask you, dog. What are your thoughts on Meek Mill? Personal, musically.
I don't have an issue with him. I mean, I think that, I haven't been a big follower of his music. I've listened to some of his music. I think that he's got a very unique sound, and I like that.
He does.
Him. I like that grit. I've always been a fan of like hip hop artists that are just kind of like a little dark and just kind of.
He's got high energy too.
Yeah, yeah, he does, and I think that there's something to be said about his. Yeah.
Very articulate.
Yeah, I can't think of the word that I'm.
Well, I wish I knew what you're
resilient.
trying to say. Oh, okay.
I don't know why I was like a break. It was like right there.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about. Let's just keep it. Let's keep it a buck.
Okay.
Is he not possibly the number one survivor, if you will, of rap?
Explain why. Because that's a bold statement.
Well, when I think about it, what he has came back from here. Okay, let's break down the timeline for Meek Mill. First and foremost, you beefed with Drake, aka the biggest, most influential rapper of this time.
And I don't know if he's peaked, but it was at a really peak part of his career.
Oh yeah. So you survived back to back. You got to think about at this time in his life. Back to back was like number one club record. He couldn't go anywhere without hearing it, and it's dissing him. Yeah. The whole world singing along to a song talking shit about him. The whole world.
You think Drake wrote all that?
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay.
I don't know, but if I had to guess, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Especially because there's personal moments in there too. So okay, you survived that. Mind you, he didn't even respond to that the way people thought he should have. They thought he was supposed to come back 24, 48 hours a week. He waited a long time. Despite what everybody said, he did what he did, right? He survived that. Mm-hmm. And then also he was dating a star much bigger than himself, Nicki Manaj.
Much bigger than a lot of people.
Superstar. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is.
Yeah.
Her and Drake are like 1 and 2, or maybe 1 and 1, male, female.
Right.
At a huge time for her as well.
Yeah.
Then things go sour between them. Now, despite what that may be, despite how that might be affecting him emotionally, mentally, she's also coming out and dissing him. She had a bar in a song. She was like, back to back? Me and Drizzy laughed at that. Like, bitch.
Okay, with the sub.
On top of that, my man gets arrested and on a violation of probation for popping a wheelie. They're trying to lock him up, trying to take his freedom away. He was on probation for like a decade for some shit he did as a teenager. Now he's in his 30s, still paying for that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have the law working against you. You have the two biggest names in your industry working against you. And for the years that this has transpired, throughout all the bullshit, you come out with a new album and it goes number 1. And not only that, but you also have Drake on one of your lead singles.
So I think it peaked at number 2.
Number 2 album?
I think.
Okay. I could be wrong, but I thought it went number 1 at least for a second.
It may not have. I think... Are you asking me or are you telling me? Because I think that there's a difference.
If you know more than I do, then go ahead. But if you ask me, I'm pretty sure his album went number 1.
So I'm not mad at Meek Mill.
I don't care if it was number 3.
No, I don't.
5, 10.
That was just me.
The point is look, you beef with Eminem in his prime. I don't care if you're Ja Rule with 100,000 hits under your belt. You're out of here.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple different components to that. You could make that case, and did the guy have a lot of things against him? Yeah, he did. Now, if we want to look, we'll go one by one. The first thing was going against Drake. I think a lot of beefs throughout hip hop. People don't recover from beefs, but there's a lot of people that do. It's just you focus on the ones that haven't. So, like, you know, you say people like Ja Rule a lot.
Yeah.
Which is just a common one because Ja Rule fell off mentally, just period. Did it have something to do with the beef? Yeah, but I think he really started dabbling into drugs and doing a lot of other shit that affected him.
Yeah, well, I heard some ecstasy pill.
Some truth to some
know.
of it. So there's one. So I think, okay, yeah, that could hurt people, but I also think that it wasn't this really long, extended beef.
But I mean, we could go ahead and say Eminem and maybe 50 Cent, Dr. Dre as well. They put the Source magazine.
Well, I think they have a lot of power.
Damn near out of business.
They were trying for that. That was their goal.
Yeah.
They saw red. Where this was, and let me finish the whole point because I think I can bring it all together. Yes, he survived this beef with Drake and arguably had more success after. Mm-hmm. Then you go to Nicki Manaj. And then she kind of publicly put him out and break up, obviously in the public's eye. Could that have hurt his image? Sure. Then you talk about all the law against him. Well,
let me stop you right there. When have you ever seen two of the biggest superstars of rap go against somebody outside of the Ja Rule beef?
Well,
that's the only other thing I think that we have to really compare it to, as far as I know.
How many beefs do you even see today, first off? So let me wrap up what my take on that whole thing is. So survives the beef, Nicki, Drake, goes in and decides that everything, literally he's got a laundry list of charges. Sure. Right or wrong, I'll reserve my judgment. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of it. And some of it, there's some responsibility on his part. Sure. Now, I'm interested to see this documentary. I'm interested to see the other perspective.
Oh, yeah, he does got that documentary about the case.
So do you notice a trend? Every single one of those things have kept him relevant and have also kind of propelled because you're interested. Meek Mill goes at Drake. Who doesn't want to hear that? Then Nicki, because he's with Nicki, obviously he's in the public's eye. Then he bring up all these court cases. He's wrongfully charged and he's this and that. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It's kept him relevant.
I do agree.
To also add to that, you don't think that there was a little bit of planning behind that with the Drake and with the Nicki thing because then all of a sudden Meek and Drake are cool pretty quickly after. I think that maybe it wasn't planned out.
I don't think
but
it was
every
planned.
one of those things has worked to his advantage. They haven't really worked against him. So you could say that they're obstacles, but they're obstacles that have actually really kept him relevant.
I think there's some truth in that. I think in most cases, that would ruin an artist's credibility, though, especially in rap. I think when the whole world is laughing at you, sure, maybe that keeps you relevant. Yeah, I think you got a point there. But I would say that with all these things working against you, just in your personal life, your relationship, a good friend of you is, everyone's laughing at you. You got legal troubles. Mentally, that could put you in a space where you're unmotivated to work. You're uninspired to work. He's pushed through all of that, like you said, resiliently. I think that's something to be noted. I think that overall, I don't know any other artist that has really had those type of circumstances and then flourished the way Meek did after. He's got a couple hits on the radio right now. Yeah. He's on tour right now with Future. You know what I'm saying? Who's one of the top hip hop artists. And I just think we've seen a lot of people. I mean, most people, I feel like after a beef, one person kind of falls back. Yeah. It seems like. Even with 50 and Rick Ross beefing, 50 fell back, surprisingly. 50 I don't think he won that the way he wanted to, so to speak. He was trying to crush Rick Ross, and if anything, Rick Ross got stronger. And, which is related to Meek's situation and all that too.
I think that's what's so different about, even with Rick Ross, 50 Cent, the 5, 6, 10 years since, and it's actually been even longer than that.
It's been a minute.
Piggy Bank was on Massacre, which came out in 2004. So this is 15, 20 years ago, if you think about it, which is crazy, and I didn't really wrap my head around that. Now it's different. Now the intentions are different. Back then, people had the power to really blackball your ass.
Facts.
And now, I'm not implying that people don't have that power, but it's a lot more publicized. And I think with all that, what I want to be pretty crystal fucking clear is I'm not questioning Meek Mill's character. or his drive, or his, you know, the way he handles adversity. Because if that's what you're saying, then yes. But to say that those things were obstacles that were just no, he had a plan. He stuck true to his guns. And he followed through and worked through it, and he made the best of it. He turned negatives into positives. But what I'm saying to you is those negatives weren't as negative as we think. The jail thing, yeah, I think that's one thing that's completely out of his hands, potentially. But at the same time, it's like, okay, at what point is there a responsibility on him? So you could also make the case, and I'll play devil's advocate, that you commit crimes. Were you punished harshly? Probably. Is there something to be looked into? And I think that we'll find out more about that.
Absolutely.
But you committed a crime multiple times. And at some point, the responsibility does fall on you. And it's like, yeah, well, no shit, you're under a microscope, dude. You're riding around in your city, this huge entertainer with a lot of buzz, dating a huge superstar, beefing with one of the biggest superstars. What do you think? So,
right.
And I'm not mad at him, and I'm not saying that he's this horrible person. I think that he's got a ton of character, and I appreciate, and I'm really interested to learn more about him. But there's two sides to that.
I just think that when you have two of the biggest machines working against you, and you come out on, I don't want to say maybe on top, but when you not only survive it, but you actually level up from that, I just think is really something that is to be appreciated and noted. And I think that it's difficult. It's you know what, I'm so blown away sometimes by the drive of these people like a Jay-Z who literally came from the projects as a minority. It was like you have all the odds working against you. Then you try to rap, every single record label turns you down. All of them. They all say you ain't never gonna be shit. Then you become not even number one, but a billionaire.
Yeah.
A billionaire.
Yeah.
That it just like it takes a special person, bro. And I think Meek Mill showed his character and how driven he is, how focused he is, whatever you want to call it, dedicated. I think it's very admirable.
I would even go as far as to say, because I think all of it's really positive. You know, when I say hold accountable, at the end of the day, I'm not judging somebody for, because you got to remember, the guy's like 20, 22, 23 years old on a lot of these crimes. What were we doing? What were a lot of people doing?
Yeah.
I think what could argue it's a genius. I mean, you literally, when you think about when he took what he did when the law was stacked against him, around that time there was a big political outcry for justice. Whether it's Black Lives Matter or whether it's just the treating of immigrants, whether it's this, that, or the other, and just the emergence of social media and politics being so big, that he took advantage of that. And you could make a case that it's really smart. Because he's one of the first hip-hop artists that I can think of where you had a lot of people behind him. I mean, I was in Philadelphia with the Free Meek signs.
I was actually going to say that, man. You know, with the support of people like Jay-Z in his corner.
The Philadelphia 76ers owner picking him up from jail and showing his support and doing that. And I think it's cool, especially if everything that I think, which is that there was some shit that he shouldn't have had to deal with. It's pretty cool. But
what's the billionaire dude he messed with? Robert Ford or some shit like that. You know what I'm talking about? The guy who he actually just got popped for like a prostitution thing at a rub and tug.
Shocker.
You know what I'm saying?
Robert Kraft.
Robert Kraft, that's his name.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft is fucking with Meek.
Yeah.
They're in cahoots.
That's why I think it's genius. I don't think that this guy is this victim. I think that there's some things that he felt victim to. But overall, I think that there's been I think he's a lot smarter than people would ever give him credit for.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting perspective, man. I definitely need to look at this documentary that they just dropped and get a little more educated. But from my perspective on the outside looking in, I'm just like, dude, this guy survived through the fucking trench. I know a lot of people who could beef with Drake that could fall off quick. You know what I'm saying? Or Nicki.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, or somehow have this negative effect. So for him to just come out and just be blazing the trail is to me just impressive.
I think it's a really good example because it's, you know, especially with how he's spinning from what I have read and saw, is just trying to take negatives and turn them into positives.
And don't give up, And I think that's the biggest
cool.
thing to pull from that, man. Turn your negatives into positive and don't give up the fight, because he could have gave up 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And we could have been like, oh, remember that guy Meek Mill?
Yeah.
And now I turn on the radio and he's got bangers right now.
I think that you got to give credit where credit's due. And he's due some credit for whatever.
Yeah.
I think we're both coming to the same agreement. Might have just different paths.
No. You know what? I'm glad that you gave me a new perspective to look into, because That's definitely something to really look in the details and read between the lines about, I think.
I think the devil is in the details, and I am interested to see more about that because the documentary looks cool.
Absolutely. And you know what I was going to say, speaking of your girl, Nicki Manaj, I actually just seen a headline of her saying, I'm retiring from entertainment and I'm getting married and I'm starting a family. And which is interesting to me. Now, granted, I think a lot of people forget her age. She is in her, I believe, later 30s.
36.
36? Okay, so mid-ish 30s.
Right.
Which in hip-hop is, I don't know, some people think that's old in rap. I don't know. I think we're pushing those limits every day. Jay-Z's
so
about
too.
to be 50 and he's still dropping bangers. But, and that's a normal age for her to want to start a family. However, the word retirement is a strong word in my opinion. I think, do I know Nicki Minaj? Not at all. But I'd be willing to bet that with her character and personality, she won't be able to stay away from the limelight too long. I think it bothers her to have to almost take a back seat to Cardi B in some ways nowadays, because she's like, I did all this. I was the only girl out here doing this. I broke all these records. And here comes this girl with a few singles. And now y'all are comparing her to me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's almost like that LeBron and Jordan comparison kind of thing, where I see how some people look at that like, you can't fucking, you know how much shit Jordan did? You can't just throw him in that. Or like back in the day, I remember they said Chris Brown was going to be the new Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
It's like, hold your fucking horses.
Yeah.
They ain't saying that shit no more. You know what I'm saying?
It's different, and it's tough to compare. It's fun to talk about, but it's tough because, everyone's going to have their own opinion. But at the end of the day, I think with Nicki doing that, I think there's a couple things that go into someone like Nicki Minaj retiring. She's women have a pressure when they're,
that's a fact,
when they're in their 30s. I don't know what her situation is, but they have a pressure. They have a biological clock.
You took the words out of my mouth. Women have the biological clock, and men have the financial clock.
And I think that there's this tremendous amount of pressure because men can have kids when they're 50, 60 years old. I mean, shit, they can have them when they're 80 if they really wanted to. Mm-hmm. And men mature later, women mature earlier. I think there's a lot of things that go into it. Plus, I also think Nicki Minaj is no idiot. This is a great way to create some buzz if she's kind of laying low for a little while to stay relevant without having to really put out any material. And
I also see her child potentially being, I don't know what their plans are. If she is a child, I can see her trying to put the kid in the spotlight.
Does she have a child?
She does not, no, but I know she was saying she's going to start a family. I assume that means pregnancies and marriages and stuff like that. If so, I could see her kid being a, the what's the word I'm looking for? The spokesmodel for, Baby
the
Gap.
Blue Sapphire or some shit or whatever.
Something. They're going to monetize the fucking kid, if you ask me.
Nickelodeon, Minaj or whatever. Yeah.
Right. I hope, we'll look back at this podcast in a few years or whatever and see how accurate that was. But,
well, I think we'll definitely do that because I'm going to be the father. Which is interesting because I'm going to have a direct say in what this child does. So thanks for the ideas.
Well, you know what? Maybe she can pay you child support. You actually might hit that lick.
Well, I mean, what the fuck, dude?
Hey.
I am the talent.
Well, let me ask you this. You think she writes her own bars? You think she's ever had ghostwriters on bars? Not hooks, not singing bridges, none of that. Bars.
I don't know.
I've heard her publicly say she writes her own shit. If Nicki said it, Nicki wrote it. Her ex-man, Safari, claims he wrote a bunch of her shit, and when you hear him rap, he sounds a lot like how she sounds. I kind of believe he probably threw her some bars.
I think that there is in hip-hop, there is a tremendous amount of pressure to have the appearance that everything that you put out is yours, and it takes somebody with a lot of vulnerability to even admit when they don't. But I also think that it's almost unfathomable to believe that with all those resources at your disposal that you wouldn't take advantage of it. And I don't know. I mean, you're touring, you're doing, you're a businesswoman, you got invested in all kinds of things. You're constantly on the go. Yeah. You're trying to maintain a social life. You're trying to maintain just a you time. How do you not take advantage when you have, some of the best writers in the world that are offering you stuff? If nothing else, at least for hooks, which I'm sure. But even more than that, you got people in your ear. It's tough to say
And
no.
I think people downplay. You know what? People are. They act like almost dope fiends in the sense of like they don't care what you got going on in your life. They just want to hear hot shit now, right fucking now. And I think like people who don't or aren't creators, I don't think they realize what it really takes to just to have inspiration to even A, feel like it, or B, come up with something that you think is up to par. It's like people just expect greatness now.
That's tremendous pressure.
Every time.
Yeah.
And she is a superstar. She's raised the bar with tremendous smash worldwide hits, international. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, people are like, okay, Nicki, what's next?
Well, and I think too with her is that like people look at Nicki, they're not like, oh my gosh, she's just this incredible bar rapper. It's her delivery just overall. She's so unique. And obviously she's taken from different people throughout history. But her delivery and her uniqueness, her look, the whole package is what's made her good.
Package.
So it's like even if she has had some ghostwriters or even if she has had help with that, that's not why people are necessarily buying Nicki Minaj.
That's exactly how I feel about when the reference tracks released. Quentin Miller writing for Drake. You hear Quentin Miller's version and you don't like it at all.
No. So
and then you hear Drake do it with his tonality, his swag that he's perfected, and you're like, this is fire. And I think that's a talent itself, being able to pull it off. Because I think a lot of the time, I could write a rap that maybe somebody else sounds better spitting it than me, or vice versa.
I don't know if this is true, but I've never heard really Drake refute that, which I'm not mad at because I don't care who does it. And I've heard other people kind of say things similar, like, listen, if you're not claiming that this is all you, 100% you, and that's like something that you've been pushing for a long time, then I don't care. It's when you do that.
He was definitely bothered by that information being released.
Well, how wouldn't you be in that industry?
Because you care.
You have to.
And you know that the people whose opinions you care the most about see it in the way of like.
Well, that's what I mean. That pressure was like, of course that's going to bother you.
I used to argue with people about it because I'm like, okay, so let me ask you this: if you found out, again, to bring up Michael Jordan, if you found out Michael Jordan's highlights was really just a hologram, would you still say Jordan was the shit or no?
Perception's reality, dude. Yeah, I think they would.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's a tough one because
I mean, when you found out Sammy Sosa had the cork bat, did you think he was still that dude, or did you go?
I don't think it was until Sammy Sosa became what he is now that I changed any opinion. I didn't care because at the end of the day it was entertaining, and nobody really did care. I mean, you have some people that bother whatever.
And that's the difference between the casual fans or the people who want to be entertained and someone like me who's like a hip hop lover. The culture is something I care about, and I was very disappointed in Drake, though I am a Drake fan, and let me point this out. I do think Drake is actually a prolific writer. I think he's had help on some records.
He's talented as hell, dude. Like, he's a whole package, too. Like, he's a decent-looking dude who can rap, who can sing, who's funny, he's charismatic.
He can act, and he can act.
He's all those things. And, like, he's used his spotlight for a lot of really good things. And with him, it's tough because I think he's always fought off an image, preconceived notion about him coming into hip-hop. He's tried to, like, overcompensate and then have something like that come out and hurt your pride. But it's like, what do you want? This is not really who this guy is.
A lot of people, man, actually said in the beginning that they couldn't take him seriously as a rapper because all they see is Jimmy from Degrassi because they grew up watching that shit. I didn't watch that shit, so it never really bothered me. But and we've also seen Drake take on different life forms, man. You've seen him be the soft, emotional, lovey-dovey, and you've also seen him in later years kind of pull the tough guy card a little bit and be like, hey, I'm connected now. I have goons now. I got money. I could put a couple dimes on your fucking headpiece.
I think that's where the problem comes up is when you start talking about that. Because when he was saying you the fucking best and that shit came out, I didn't give a fuck who wrote that. I thought it was cool. It sounded sweet.
Right.
I think when you start, the longer you're in the industry and the more content you put out and the more you start putting out that kind of hip hop, then I think that there's just an assumption that you wrote it. And if you find out otherwise, then that gives people a reason.
Well, I think, being a braggadocious rapper that he is at times, I think it sucks the air out of that, so to speak, and kind of deflates this image of like him saying, I'm that dude and I got these number ones and boom, boom, boom. And then you find out, like, motherfucker, you didn't even put that work in.
But
the way you're kind of displaying it.
Don't you think that it's also similar to a lot of people who project the jewelry, the cars, and they actually have none of that? And I'm not saying just in music videos, but just their everyday. You walk around and you find out.
It is if you brag about having your Lamborghini and then I find out it's not your Lamborghini. Same thing for me. But I'm not someone who cares about car culture. I care about hip hop culture, and I also care about this. I look at rap like a sport. I take this shit very serious. This is my line of work. So when and another thing to me is I hate seeing people get praise that I feel like they don't deserve, and maybe that's a bad quality of mine. I don't really know, but it's kind of like I like seeing
it's a
people.
Yeah.
I like people getting what they deserve, whether good or bad.
Right. No,
So I'm saying,
sense.
If you're gonna walk around saying Drake's the best rapper, but he didn't write, let's just pretend he didn't write none of his shit. What do we do?
Well, and that's when I agree. That's when if that statement is being said, it's like, well, then let's really look at the details.
Because I don't think you can be in the conversation like that as the best rapper if people are writing your whole 16-bar verses.
And I don't think you can really, it depends, because every generation is going to look at that question differently, and every generation is going to have a different list of people. I think
the new generation doesn't care about the culture, and I think that's why that changed.
Well, and the fact is that I would say that a big percentage of Drake's material isn't really rap. It's a lot of
there's
part of the reason why I like him. You know what I mean?
Me too.
So it's like I'm not mad at him for it, but it's like I don't know if that's even what he's like one of the big guy. I would say he's one of the biggest hip hop artists of all time.
Absolutely.
And it's like.
And let me not discredit Drake, because like I said, I am a fan and I do think he's a prolific writer, and I want to make sure I get that across, because let's just keep it a buck. Drake writes for other rappers.
Yeah.
Drake has written for Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, you know what I'm saying, big, and I'm sure a lot of other shit we don't catch wind of. I'm sure he wrote shit probably that helped Wayne. Mm-hmm. It sure sounded like it for a while. So I don't think he's not a writer. I don't think he's a full-fledged fraud.
Mm-hmm.
He got some help on some records. But it did kind of take the wind out of my sails for him when I first heard it, because some of my favorite fucking records off of If You're Reading This Is Too Late, he didn't write the verses or the hooks, and I'm just like, oh fuck, this was my favorite shit right here.
Yeah.
And this, so that did fuck me up.
It's like Santa's not real.
It's kind of like, yes, thank you. It's like Santa's not real. It's like you hold somebody in this light, and then you look behind the curtain, and you're like, oh.
It's like when you meet an entertainer and they're a complete asshole, and they're like somebody you really, really look up to.
Yeah. And you know what? I was
disappointed.
I was scarred by that for a little bit, but now that feelings wore off, and I think most people don't care anymore. I think Drake actually set kind of a new standard almost.
Yeah.
For that outlook. It's like, hey.
Drake's dope, dude. He's got mass appeal. So the whole thing with Nicki, one of the things I thought was really interesting is when she announced this retirement, and I wasn't, whatever, I seen it, and like anything, it's like clickbait.
Right.
I didn't care, because to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck if she did or didn't retire, to be perfectly honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I'm not mad at her. I used to have a lot of love for Nicki Manaj.
Well, you guys had that fling, summer 16.
We did have a thing, and I got too busy with my work shit, and I was like, listen, sweetheart, you know what I mean?
Well, and there's levels to this shit. It's like when you're so much further above her.
When you're a needy, it's like, okay, you got money, you're hot, you can do whatever, Yeah. I'm like, no, listen, I like to work. I like to work and live at home and not have responsibilities like that. I don't like to travel and shit. It's like, let's just be real. So, what, I had to figure it out. No, it was what it was. She understood. She handled it well, I thought.
And I thought it was whack how you always called yourself Ken, and then she randomly said she was Barbie.
It's
it was like,
but that's just who she was. And I don't have an ego.
Wow.
I'm pretty low key. I think I take things in stride. So.
Hey, shout out to Cardi B. Fuck.
Yeah, whatever. Good for her. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that I was reading is. And the rapper, 36, Nicki Minaj, and Kenneth Petty, who is the fiance.
Okay. Oh, fiance?
I
didn't know they were engaged. See, I knew she had a man. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Okay.
No, well, maybe they're not. Early relationship bliss, whatever. Her fans said, blah, 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 blah. The backstory, this guy has been in jail time for manslaughter and is a registered sex offender.
Whoa. Okay, well, let's back up. Before we start judging him off the sex offender part, manslaughter happens, bro. He could have fucking, I mean, come on. What is the context? Manslaughter could be a crackhead jumped out in the middle of your car. I mean, in the middle of the street, and you know what I'm saying?
So.
And as far as sex offender, bro, I could pull my dick out across the street from the crib.
Prove it.
And piss on a bush, and if somebody calls the cops, I'm a sex offender. So I would like to dig deeper into that because I think people hear headlines and they run with them. I think the details always matter.
So let's look at this because I think it's important. I'm a firm believer in your innocence until proven guilty. So they've had a history. She's known him since he's like 16.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I think there was a little like puppy love there too.
Okay,
cool, whatever. I'm not mad at any of it, but I was just.
Are you jealous?
No, because sloppy seconds, bro.
Are you jealous?
Which I guess technically, if they knew each other when they were 16, maybe I got the sloppy seconds, so he's getting filthy thirds or something. But
I hit it.
Ray J said it. Yeah, he did. He's doing well too. So, according to online sources, the records for this is in regards to the registered sex offender. He's at moderate risk of repeat offense, and he's required to register as a sex offender.
Moderate risk of repeat offense? What the fuck does that mean?
So he was convicted in April 1995 of attempted rape in the first degree for an incident that occurred in September 94 involving a 16-year-old girl. He was sentenced to 18 to 54 months in prison.
So hold up, 1994? So he was how old, you think?
So he's
a
40.
Teenager?
He's 40.
40, okay.
And this was, 25 years ago.
So?
He was 15.
Yeah. So, okay, a 15-year-old.
See, but it doesn't say statutory rape.
Attempted rape. Yeah, that's pretty fucking, that's pretty serious.
He was attempted rape in the first degree. So.
Attempted rape, which means she said no and he said, too bad, bitch. And then she was like, no, fuck you, no, and left. And, how does it, what's attempted rape?
I don't know.
You tried to stick it in and missed? What the fuck is attempt rape?
I don't know. We gotta ask.
I'm asking questions. I'm playing devil's advocate because you know how these laws get weird, man. I'm not saying he's a great guy, but it's like
so. Nicki Manaj, and to add to your point, somebody responded to a comment. She wrote, "He was 15, she was 16, in a relationship, but go off the internet. Y'all can't run my life. Y'all can't even run y'all own life. Thank you, boo." So essentially, she's saying that they were dating, and that I reserve my judgment.
And to someone who's known him roughly his whole life,
yeah,
she has a little bit more.
And
insight.
at the end of the day, that's her business. And I think the only reason why I'm commenting about it is because this literally was like, I'm retiring. The next tweet was this about this guy. So I'm just interested.
Okay.
So Petty is also, gentleman John Petty or whatever his name is, also pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter in the shooting death of a man named Lamont Robinson in 2002. According to a criminal complaint obtained by The Blast, which is this whatever.
Hey, Nicki likes these thug motherfuckers, bro. Mm-hmm. That's why she got with Meek, bro, because he was rough around the edges. She liked that shit.
Yeah, which is exactly why she liked me. So, according to the outlet, Petty pleaded guilty to the manslaughter charge in March 2006 and served 7 years in prison after being sentenced to 10. He was released in May 2013. I think we don't have to go into it. And at the end of the day, to each their own. I think it's a little surprising because I think he also has 4 children. So I think from the outside you're looking, okay, you go from me to this gentleman who's been to jail for but honestly,
you know what though? Hey, real talk though. Here's the thing: it brings me back to my point of what we talked about before on one of the other episodes. It's crazy because she's a celebrity and for some reason you expect more out of her because she's famous or rich or whatever. But like I can look at probably my family or your family and see equal or worse shit than that going on.
So here's where I'm going to disagree with you. How many people do you know that take out the wealth, the money, the fame, anything you could have, and really most men that you would want, she can have. She can have her pick. Let's be real.
Sure.
Decided to, for whatever reason, retire from their career to settle down to have a family with a man or with a woman with 4 children who's been in jail for 10 years for manslaughter and was convicted of first-degree attempted rape.
What if her role is to be kind of the person to keep him on track?
That's a hell of a responsibility.
Because some people have that gene in them where they have to be needed. You have these wives and moms that almost rely on you leaning on them, so to speak. What if her personality deep down in her more mature age is that's maybe the role she wants to play, more of the nurturing, guidance. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like some people play that role.
Yeah, I think that I'm not mad. I'm not judging Nicki for settling down with this. What I'm just questioning is on the surface, you can see how that, and I know that there's 2 sides to every story. But when you look at it and you take a stop and you think, if me, your boy, was like, hey, I want to settle down, take out all this shit, and I'm settling down.
I would be like, you sure?
First off, with a woman with 4 children.
4 children. Just
right
offer it.
And I'm not, and I'm, listen, I think it's great. I think it's really great when women and men can also be a father or mother figure in, especially,
Agreed.
I don't know that situation. I think it's cool, and I think that whatever. And if you're cool with it, I'm not mad at that.
It's a big feat.
But it's a huge thing. And then you find out, like the chick that I was with spent 10 years in jail for killing somebody. And was also, did a little stint for a little bit of first-degree conviction.
And on top of that, you're an extremely wealthy, extremely successful superstar.
And I'm saying, let me put that on the back burner, honey, because I got to go see Johnny and the 4 kids this weekend. And we can, we got to go fight. We got to go to court. I got to go show to front of the court with Johnny.
You know what? All we know is what we read.
And all we read is what we know.
And you know what? Half of these fucking media sites...
Yeah, it's just interesting.
I'm not even saying it's probably real, but it's just hard to judge because she knows so much other shit that we don't.
Right. Oh yeah.
We don't know. I mean, he could have been one of these guys who got fucked over on that rape charge, and this bitch could have lied, or whatever. It's really hard. It's really hard to say the manslaughter thing. What are the details?
Can we stop for a second and just really scratch our heads and say, okay, listen, let's stop trying to be so fucking nice about it. Let's just be real.
It's not about nice for me. It's about I feel like, I don't know. I give people the benefit of the doubt because...
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt too, but I'm telling you right now that if fucking one of the most attractive, wealthy, well-known people that we know decides to put her career on hold to start a family with somebody who has 4 children and has been 10 years in prison and nobody knows who he is...
I feel you.
You're just like, okay, let's be fucking real.
I feel you,
This is easy.
I'm really trying
Let's just tee it up and have fun with it. Because the reality is, I mean, listen, maybe he's a great guy, and maybe there's a lot, there could be a great relationship, and I hope nothing but the best for him. But let's have fun with it. What the fuck, dude?
I'm not trying, I'm just trying to not be that guy. They're not trying to be the hater, but... Nick, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is I'll have an opportunity.
You just text her.
No, she texted me, all that. I was just reading her thread. She just described exactly the situation.
Real speech?
Yeah. She's like, listen, I know that you got a huge platform and everybody likes you. And you're fucking cool as shit and funny, charming. And
now, let me ask you this. Do you think that one of the reasons she liked you is because of your serial rapes and your attempted manslaughter and your 5 kids? Or do you think it just was mainly the fact that she likes small dicks?
Well, I know that she definitely had a thing for baby dicks.
Okay.
And... I have that in spades. So you combine that with the fact that the thing about my rapes is when you have a dick this small, they don't even consider it rape. It's like 8th-degree rape because no penetration was really felt. So I think that's what it was. She appreciated the fact that I would take the risk, but I never got caught. So
kudos.
Joe fucked ya.